Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Business Morning this Wednesday, the 9th of May. Hello, and welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. Let's get the show started with me, Boston Namafaye. A mission of 10 World Bank officials are in Nigeria today for a high-level bilateral talks with the Vice President, Professor Yomi Oshibajo, including the Honorable Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, and they will meet some state governors as well. In a statement released late Tuesday by the Ministry of Finance, the 10 World Bank executive directors will discuss ongoing projects being sponsored or supported by the World Bank across Nigeria. The team is also scheduled to meet the organized private sector in Lagos and tour the Lapo Microfinance Bank project in the state, as well as the Azura Energy project based in Edo State. That's one big story today we're tracking for you. This is the first time the World Bank is sending a very heavy team of 10 individuals to the country. Now, this is what is coming from stormy President Trump, U.S. President, throws the world markets into a frenzy yesterday night as he dumps Barack Obama's Iran nuclear deal and planning an extension of sanctions against Iran for not keeping to the nuclear agreement. That was the dinner time story, and the markets overnight has been in a major frenzy. Take a look at the next page where we as we speak. Oil prices jumping. Brent around $70 a barrel. The WTI is about 72 this morning. There was a knee-jerk reaction to Trump's decision to tear up the Obama's Iran nuclear deal. Yields are also rising on some of the treasuries and bonds, sovereign bonds around the world. The Asian markets finished today. Wednesday, of course, is already dinner time in Tokyo as we speak. The stock markets were rocked within the Asian region. And right now, the European markets are also seesawing on that decision by President Trump. Meantime, the dollar index jumped. That's the DXY, if you know that index, because the DXY up about 0.29% about an hour ago. Cryptos also getting crushed. Bitcoin dollars off track 1.3%. Ethereum down 2.9% today. And gold lost some of its luster, down 0.62% as the world markets roiled on the back of the president, U.S. president, dumping the Iran nuclear deal. And a number of companies who plan multi-billion-dollar investments in Iran and are head-scratching where they go from here, from Shell Petroleum to Volkswagen, Renault, and a few other international firms. So it's a brand new day for everyone to look at the global economy and markets on the back of this Iran nuclear deal. But let's come back home very quickly and check with the World Bank sending a team of 10 executive directors carefully selected from the U.S. and around the world to visit Nigeria today for a couple of days to meet with the Vice President and the Honorable Minister of Finance, including a few governors, state governors, and discuss the projects that is taking place in Nigeria. This is the first time since in recent years that we've seen this high-level team from the World Bank coming to Nigeria. Let's get the first word on this, what to expect from this meeting from Bismarck Rewane, who is a CEO at Financial Derivatives Company. He's also Channels Television economic contributor. Good morning, and thanks for joining us via Skype. Mr. Rewane, it's good to have you on the show. Let's get this started. Give us your first take on this very important visit to Nigeria by 10 executive directors of the World Bank.
I think it's important to note that this is coming immediately after the spring meetings. It's coming immediately after the visit of Mr. President to the United States of America in Washington, D.C. And it's also coming at a time when our budget is just about to be approved. But what's important to note is that we are all members of the World Bank. The World Bank supports projects which are for social good, Millennium Development Goals, and for critical infrastructure. They also insist on transparency and sustainability principles. Those are the things that they're going to be looking at, and to see whether the procedure for the procurement of the projects and contractor selection and all of that meets the best practice. Nigeria has to show that it actually it's meeting the complying with the principles of sustainability, complying with the principles of transparency and complying with the principles of accountability. This is very important for Nigeria. And if we go through this successfully, which I'm sure we will, then it means other things are going to come. Also, please note that we have concessionary loans from the World Bank. These are loans at about 1% for 30, 40 years. We need this, especially because of our infrastructure gap that we need to bridge at this point in time.
Well, if we look at the relationships we're pursuing with the World Bank, Mr. Rewane, we're still looking for about $500 million to support the power sector here. This team will meet with the Vice President and the Ministry of Finance. What do you think we should be, or we will be telling this team, and what do you think they will be asking from us in specific terms, in particular if you situate this mission to Nigeria within the context of the ERGP?
Well, I think power is the critical infrastructure that we need. As we speak, the Nigerian power output on the grid is about 3,300 megawatts, while the capacity is about almost 6,000 megawatts. So essentially, there are about 3,000 megawatts of stranded power. We need to reorganize that sector. The Minister of Power, Housing and Works has been doing a lot of work. The Vice President's office is also doing a lot of work to ensure that we have solar alternative power solutions as well as major power solutions. The World Bank is putting about almost $1 billion behind this project. And why is it important? Because alternative power is about 4 times more expensive than public power supply. The small and medium-scale enterprises, who are the backbone and engine of this economy, depend on public power. It is said that if you improve power supply by as much as maybe almost 10% output, you could probably get about 2% increase in GDP. Therefore, if we resolve the critical issues about financing and forbearance and intervention in this sector, we could see our GDP growth go from the meager 1.5, 1.5, 1.8% to about 3 or 4%. That will bring our output GDP higher than the rate of population growth, and people begin to feel the impact across the country, creating jobs, increasing activity, and actually making growth sustainable. That is what we think will happen.
How much of both economic and political gain do you think the Buhari's administration should make of this visit? If you look at this team from the World Bank, they look selected from all over the world, from Switzerland, France, Italy, the Nordic region, Peru, Germany, South Africa, Angola, another Francophone Africa, including the UK and Indonesia. This looks like a major team that we haven't seen them visit the country like this in many years.
It's important because Nigeria, not only because of its strategic relevance in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria is becoming an example of a country that wants to reform, wants to be accountable, wants to be transparent. So if they come here, Nigeria can benefit from it if only we can walk the walk and talk the talk. There's no point talking about war against corruption if you cannot actually go to a due process for compliance, for contract awards, for procurement, for monitoring. So as we go, we are raising money from the Euro market for Euro bonds. We are raising money from the donor nations, African Development Bank and the World Bank. We are raising money across even from our own diaspora. There's a need for transparency and accountability. That is what the World Bank brings. The World Bank endorsement of our project framework, of our policy direction, will help other investors and creditors actually begin to support us. So it is very, very important. It's symbolic, and it has serious implications for Nigeria's economic revolution in the next 2 to 3 years.
Let me just throw this in very quickly, Mr. Rewane. I'm sure you listened to the news last night about President Trump throwing the Obama's nuclear deal in the trash can and trying to sketch up another one and throwing the world markets into a frenzy as we speak. And oil prices is one of them. Let's have your first word on that. Why do you think we should proceed from here? How do you think we should read the current geopolitical readings, even though we are far away from it, but we're connected?
Well, I think basically Trump has become quite isolationist and is quite protectionist and to a large extent eccentrically unpredictable. But the rest of the world, luckily, the rest of the world, European Union, Asia, and everybody, believes that it is in the interest of everybody to have an agreement. Once there's a sanctity of contract, sanctity of an agreement, you have to honor the obligations signed by previous administrations. This is not personal. So my personal view is that in the end, even the rejection of this plan by the United States will not hold. The plan will continue to be supported by other countries, and Iran will also be a compliant member of the international community. Don't forget, we are going to Korea. And when we go to Korea, if you do not honor this obligation, what happens? Why would the Koreans take you seriously? So I'm quite confident that in the end, both vital, strategic, and general interests of the United States and the world will be aligned, and that markets will stabilize. For us, short term, we've seen the price of oil spike, which is good. But my view is that the price of oil will settle down at about $60, $65, which is way ahead of our budget benchmark, way ahead of the average of last year. So technically speaking, and from our macroeconomic perspective, Nigeria is in a good place. We win if the Iran deal doesn't work. We win if the Iran deal works. So quite frankly, from a selfish perspective, I think it's good for Nigeria, whichever way it comes out.
We appreciate ending it on that nationalistic note. Even though this is selfish, we need all the oil money. Thank you very much, and do have a great day, Mr. Rewane, the CEO at Financial Derivatives Company and Channels Television economic contributor.